Thank you for listening to Life Improvement Radio. You are listening to a rebroadcast of a previously recorded show.
So I'm excited to welcome to the program author Tracey Tynan. Tracey, thanks for calling. How are you?
Terrific. Delighted to be here.
Oh, absolutely, Tracey. Let's learn a little bit about your background first. Tell us your background.
Well, I grew up in England, and then I moved to the States, and I've been here for many years, and I've had a long career as a costume designer in film and TV, and the book that I'm here with at the Miami Fair is called Wear and Tear, The Threads of My Life.
Wow. Okay, Peter, you jump on the next question, and we'll go with our panel.
Yeah, it's very awesome. I've never heard of a book like this. It's really, really interesting to hear about someone doing the memories based on different articles of clothing. So what would be, I guess my first question is, what would be the most powerful thing that you have related to that you put in your book, just to kind of get that foundation to start with?
Well, each chapter, is based on an item of clothing and a personal story around that item of clothing. And it starts out when I'm 5 years old with a pair of lemon yellow underpants. And it goes straight through to when I'm 21 and I'm in an Aussie Clark dress and all kinds of different clothing and a few items of jewelry along the way. And my own wedding dress, which was actually a very inexpensive white T-shirt dress. And then also it follows my career as a costume designer in film.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.
How did you come up with the idea for such an interesting concept for a novel, for a book? How did you come up with the idea?
Well, I had written some of these personal stories, and then as I was reading through them, I realized that the connecting factor was clothing, and I'd always been obsessed with clothing since I was a young child, and my father was a theater critic and a writer, and he was kind of a dandy, and he wore very outrageous clothing. And so I guess I was somewhat inspired by that and wanting to tell that story, which I think is a universal story of how clothing impacts us all and the kind of decisions we make about the clothing we wear and how, you wear a certain item of clothing and you have a wonderful time in it, and so you always want to wear that item of clothing. And then another time you wear an item of clothing and you have a terrible time in it and you sort of stuff it to the back of the closet, and so how this impacts our lives.
Costume designer, let's go into that job and look at specifically who you worked with and stuff like that for our listeners out there.
Well, I was a designer on a film called The Big Easy with Dennis Quaid and Ellen Barkin. And I also did a film called Great Balls of Fire with Dennis Quaid, again, the story of Jerry Lewis. And so those were quite different. One was contemporary at the time, and the other was a period film, and that was a lot of fun doing the research on the clothing that Jerry Lee Lewis wore and the kind of stage outfits that he had, and that was set. It starts in the 40s and goes through to the 50s. So that was working with Dennis Quaid and Ellen Barkin. And also, I did a couple of films with Blake Edwards and worked with Bruce Willis and Kim Basinger, and also Julie Andrews, who's a terrific person.
Yeah. So I'm going to have one more question, Peter. Then I'm going to go to you because this is an interesting. Why two of Dennis Quaid's films? Did you know Dennis personally?
No, what it was is my husband is a director, and he had, from The Big Easy, had a really good relationship with Dennis, and so when this biopic came up of Jerry Lee Lewis, and Dennis actually is a musician and was really keen to do it, so that's why it wound up being Dennis again.
Wow, it's so interesting, to say the least. It's like so your husband's a director. What has he directed?
He did a remake of Breathless with Richard Gere, which actually was my first costuming job, and that was very exciting to work with Richard Gere. He's a tremendous actor and a tremendous body to clothe, if you will. So those, he did Breathless, Great Balls of Fire, and The Big Easy, and a bunch of other films. So it was, an interesting dynamic working with somebody you're married to.
Right, and is he directing anymore?
Not at the moment. He's been teaching film, so that's been a good transition.
Where does he teach film?
He's teaching at the Pasadena Arts Center. He teaches graduate film studies there.
Wow. Okay, you definitely somebody. I'd really be interested in interviewing your husband someday, for sure, with all those experiences, especially with my celebrity show and all that stuff, for sure. All right, Peter. Next question.
Yeah. So what I do is when I make my digital art, I'm a digital artist. I do it based off of visual experiences. Because unfortunately, I'm losing my vision. So what I want to do is I want to showcase how I see the world. How, in your aspect, like with the memories and the clothing that you have cultivated in this book, is that shining through some of the newer stuff that you're creating for all these different people and these different motion pictures?
Well, I actually I haven't been doing so much costume design recently, but I'm doing a really interesting project called the Glamour Project. And I work with some women, and we go to homeless shelters and rehabs, and we work with the women there, and they're kind of like queen for a day, and they get makeup and styled, and then they get a photograph taken of them. And so they're kind of, a glamour photo of themselves. And the women really seem to enjoy it, and sometimes they use these photos to send back to family members they haven't spoken to or seen in a long time. And so it's nice to take my skills as a stylist and designer into an arena with people that, are struggling with their lives.
Right. I appreciate it. That sounds really, really awesome.
This does sound like a really interesting project. What about writing? Do you have any other future works, in planning right now?
I'm still kind of, floating around ideas and trying to see what my next project will be. Having written nonfiction, I think maybe I'd like to try and experiment with fiction. So I'm not quite sure what my next project is going to be, but I'm looking forward to trying something different.
Wow. Okay. It was really nice chatting with you. Where's the best place we can find information on you, purchase your book, and learn more about you? Where can we go?
Well, you can follow me at Tynan Threads on Instagram and Twitter, and I also have a website, and I do something called the Daily Clothing Report, where I try and post different items of clothing and different styles that I think are interesting, and those are probably the best places, and you can buy my book on Amazon.
Wow.
Or
okay.
Independent bookstores too.
Absolutely. And Tracey, one thing I wanted to tell you, I have a client I do social media branding for who is a non-for-profit called Reach Up Magazine, and they help women that are in poverty. And it's a magazine that writes different. So I'm going to have to definitely connect with you and have a conversation offline about how we can get the magazine in California to you. You guys are in California, right?
Yes, we are. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. In Los Angeles.
Yeah, I'd love to get make that connection for her because, they're doing tremendous work. They have 20,000 readers, meaning that get the magazine, and they're doing really, really, really good. And so I'll definitely contact you. Okay, on your website. All right. Well, thanks for calling, and best of luck in Miami. Okay?
Thank you so much. It's delightful.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. You're listening to Authors Corner, powered by Life Improvement Radio, live from the Miami Book Fair. We'll be back in just a moment.
Thank you for listening to Life Improvement Radio. The views expressed by show hosts or their guests are their own and shall not be construed in any way as advice from Life Improvement Radio. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our website. Personal perspectives expressed by the producers, writers, or editors will always be presented as such. Any rebroadcast or retransmission without the expressed written consent of Life Improvement Radio is strictly prohibited. Thanks for listening.